Hello and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I'm, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and this week we got a bit of a different episode to normal. You'd have known, seen our mock draft and our NFL draft review, a bit of a continuation of the NFL draft. I did allude to this guest today on my last episode, and with me today, I've got a Chicago Bears fan who actually delivered one of the Bears picks on stage. With me today, I've got Bears International Fan of the Year, James Gowers. James, how are you?
Hi, Andy. Yeah, thanks very much for having me. I'm absolutely still overwhelmed by the amazing week I've had, but great to be on the show. Great to chat to you about the week that I've had.
Yeah, and we are going to have two other guests on this week. In Ryan Farden, Lions fan, who did his pick on stage, as well as Daniel Hambridge, our Packers fan, who also is going to come on later this week. So, James, before we go into the whole draft day experience, let's take you further back. I like to ask all of my new guests this question. For someone who isn't from the US, someone who basically has a pick of all 32 teams, why did you pick the Bears?
Yeah, and this is a question, not just myself, but lots of UK NFL fans get. Obviously, we have no affiliation to any of the teams because we're not from America. So you've got all of these 32 teams to choose from. And I'm like, where do I begin? And the link I made is to our football, or how's the American soccer? They call it soccer. I'm a massive Tottenham fan for my sins. So straight away, could click off the list or cross off the list all the red teams. Never red, don't like red, hate red. And then I kind of looked more into each of the teams and kind of tried to find one that was sort of similar to Tottenham. First and foremost, I came across the Bears because of the colours, the navy blue and the white. But then I delved a bit deeper into them and saw the history. Obviously, the Bears being one of the most historic franchises of them all. One of the oldest teams, the team with the most Hall of Famers. And a team that sadly hasn't had success for quite a while, much like Tottenham. So, as I kind of did more research, I kind of sort of found those links and thought, yeah, this is the team I'm going to root for. And, that was 8, 10 years ago, between kind of that kind of range. And, I've loved every moment of being a Bears fan and continue to love this sport of American football.
It's interesting you say the Bears are like Tottenham because I'm actually planning on my TikTok, Andy Talks NFL, for those listening. You haven't yet subscribed to my TikTok. I'll be trying to do a video where I try and say each NFL team as to which Premier League team or which English football team is most like that team. And I actually haven't got the Bears in mind for Tottenham. So a little spoiler there. For those who do find out my videos later on, I've got a different team in mind. But nevertheless, I can definitely see the comparisons there. And I think I've seen a few NFL fans who go down that route. I know friend of the show, Fletch from Sleep at Work, he chose Detroit as a Man City fan because they both wear blue, and Manchester and Detroit have similar traits in terms of hard-working people of that city. So yeah, I get that completely. And I've always said before that my favorite NFC team is the Bears. I love the city of Chicago and I love Soldier Field. So I know when I first started watching the NFL, it was around about properly around about 2015. But I remember just seeing Soldier Field on Red Zone and watching old clips on, on America's Game or Football Live or just old NFL clips, seeing Soldier Field, especially when it's cold. I love all that. So yeah, I obviously it's going to be a new stadium soon, which is going to be fantastic. And you yourself, you've been to a number of Bears games in the UK, but also in the US. What's the sort of total count at the moment of how many games you've been to Bears wise in person?
Yeah, so I'd like to go to more. I've only been over this to Soldier Field the once, and that's obviously something, as I said, I'd like to do a lot more in the future. Obviously, it's not the cheapest of things, but I got to go a couple of years ago to Soldier Field and witness that cold, like you say, against the Eagles a couple of years ago. That was the year the Eagles got to the Super Bowl, and we did give them a game. It was like minus 18 degrees, so it was, I was wearing 8 or 9 layers, but I think I'd rather have done that because I did feel, what it's like to be a true Bears fan. Obviously, yeah, we've been over a couple of times in the UK. Lastly was in 2019 against the Raiders, which I got to go to. I was very lucky because that was the first one at Tottenham. So it was kind of a double whammy for me, obviously, with it being at Spurs, but also the Bears being there as well. And obviously, yeah, we're going to be playing in Tottenham again this year. We don't know who that's against yet, but I was very fortunate enough to be given a couple of tickets by the Bears to be going to that one, so I know I'll be there for that one. So yeah, as I said, would love to get back over to America because, like you say, Chicago is one of the best cities in the world. As part of my trip, I went over to Chicago before Detroit. and had a really, really good experience there, which I'm sure I'll talk about a little bit more in a bit. But yeah, Chicago, an amazing city, absolutely love it. And yeah, I'll have to go back a load more in the future.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I definitely know what you mean about the cold because I think America, when it's cold, it's cold. I remember I had a week in my travels where I did a game in Tennessee. It was Tennessee, then Green Bay, and then Pittsburgh, or it's something in that way, all within a week. And I've never been so cold in my life. Considering I'd not long come from Florida, that was a bit of a contrast in terms of weather conditions, going from a few weeks of wearing shorts and t-shirts every day to then of basically a week to 2 weeks of wearing 8, 9 layers and still being freezing cold. I don't think anywhere in the UK you can really compete with that. I mean, we all think it's cold if you've not been to America, but I think once you've been to America, you realise just how much more colder, how much more colder things can be.
Yeah, 100%. No. And it was a really, really big wake up call. Even our flight home on that trip got delayed. So it was like, oh my God, because of the weather conditions. So no, it was really, really mental out there. But no, it was amazing to be there, actually in Soldier Field for a game. Something that you just watch on the TV at these ridiculous times over here in the UK, as you will know. But to be there and see the team, yeah, nothing beats that, man.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned that you were at the draft, and that's the reason for this episode, and that is because you were named International Fan of the Year. Now, tell me what that was like because that's not something we've seen before. It's not. I think it's been a brand new thing just this last season alone. Now, tell us more about the reason why you were picked, first of all, and then also what that was like to get that sort of notification that you were named as the International Fan of the Year.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely crazy to be honest. How it all started is that I was at an NFL event at Battersea Power Station with one of my mates for one of the London games. And that was a fun day. That had kind of like a mini combine, so I did like the vertical jump and the 40-yard dash and the throwing challenges. And a representative came up to me kind of with a flyer that said about this competition, about being the International Fan of the Year. Stuck it in my back pocket, enjoyed the rest of the day. And then when I got home, I kind of remembered, I might as well try and apply for this. And it was kind of a long old process. I had to fill out a load of boxes and explain why I'm a fan and, how I kind of, rally other fans, that kind of stuff, how I'm a kind of member within the Bears UK community, and thought nothing of it. Submitted it. A few months went by, and I was actually in Latvia for one of my best friend's stags do. And I got this email from the Bears saying, we're reaching out to UK NFL fans about the upcoming game in London. We're wanting to know any ideas about fan events you'd like to see. Of course, I'm going to say yes. I would have loved to have shared my ideas about some of the events that I wanted to see, yeah, this year for the Bears game. So after I got back from that view, I came back and had this call with two representatives from the Bears. And they were kind of talking about kind of, what we'd like to see, what merchandise kind of opportunities you'd like to see, what events. So I was talking about loads of, quite good ideas that I had. I had like, like a pub quiz or a darts competition, kind of make it a British sort of thing. But it turns out at the end of the call, they kind of sort of pranked me and said, actually, this call actually isn't about the UK game. And then they kind of flipped to a video message from Jack Sanborn, one of our linebackers. And that was when he announced that I was the UK International Fan of the Year for the Bears, and I was really taken aback. I was a complete shock. My reaction is on the Bears socials, and I couldn't quite believe it. And ever since that's where it kind of started off. It still hasn't sunk in now, to be honest. But when it did finally kind of sink in, they then told me that I was lucky enough to be going to the NFL draft in Detroit, all expenses paid. So yeah, it was a
Wow.
literal dream come true. And later on down the line, they also said and I got very lucky because Chicago is so close to Detroit that they were actually going to fly me out to Chicago beforehand. And get a tour of the Bears facilities as well at Hallis Hall. So that was a double kind of surprise there, and one I'll never forget. So it was an unreal experience, really.
That is just something that I think a lot of NFL fans anywhere in the world could only dream of having that, not only have a player of your team speak to you on Zoom or whatever it was and give you that message and then to actually be invited to an NFL draft and also expenses all paid. They could have easily gone, you pay for your flight, we'll do the rest, but everything paid for, that's just an incredible experience. And then, you know,
Yeah.
um, obviously before the you mentioned that you did Chicago and all that, and did you get to see much of Detroit around, or did you literally go in there on the day of the draft, make the pick, and then leave?
No, so yeah, I got to see a little bit of Detroit. It's somewhere that I'd never thought of going before. But it was a lovely city actually, and the people there were so kind of friendly. So yeah, after Chicago, we flew to Detroit for all 3 days of the draft. Obviously, kind of lots of the area of Detroit was sort of all fenced off, ready for the draft, so I didn't get to see too much. But just walking in and around and seeing other U NFL fans from not just internationally, but obviously in the States as well, from all different teams was such a good vibe, such a good feeling. All the people over there were so friendly and so accommodating to, usually a guy that's wearing a rival team's jersey, I'd probably get a bit of stick, but no, it was really, really lovely and well received. So no, I really did enjoy Detroit. And yeah, I would have to go back at some point.
And then, of course, going on to the actual pick itself, I mean, you did pick Chicago Bears new punter, Tory Taylor, 122nd overall. I mean, just before that, how were the nerves for you? Because, I mean, that must have been, well, it broke a record for the most ever fans in attendance. Over 700,000 people attended this NFL draft. Just how were your nerves when you were about to walk on stage and then actually going on stage?
You know what? I will be completely honest with you, and this might come across as a bit cocky or whatever. I had no nerves. I mean, this was my moment. They kind of called you up about 10 picks before the 1-2-2, so they take you into a little bit of a back room where they have this massive Excel spreadsheet because they've got all the picks coming in. So I've seen some of the picks in before they were getting even announced. And I was waiting in the back room with Sketch, the streamer. It was just me and him, and it was kind of weird because he picked one after me. So I was just having a chat with Sketch. Now it wasn't a place that I could bring my phone into because of the reason of the big Excel spreadsheet. But I was waiting for this pick, and I was thinking, oh, who are we going to select? I hope it's not a name that I can't pronounce, not pronounce. And then I saw punter, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we're taking a punter in the fourth round. How funny is that? So obviously they gave me the card with the 122nd pick and Tory Taylor's name on it. And I go out and I was just kind of, I suppose it made it easier for myself that I was in a city where the Bears aren't that light. So I could kind of rally the crowd up a little bit, and I could get a bit of a reaction because the moment I did walk out, it was to hundreds of thousands of boos. So that kind of calmed the nerves a little bit, and I could play the pantomime villain. So I think on day three, when I did make the pick, it was in front of 175,000 people were there. So it is pretty crazy once I do think about it now. But in the moment, I just was thinking, right, how can I, interact with the crowd? So straight away I go, Bears fans, can you hear anything? Because I can't, and that got even more boos. Then I, got to give a bit of smack talk. So then I obviously just said about, I'm picking for the best team in the NFC North, the best team in the NFC, and then the best team in the NFL. Only to be accompanied by even more boos. So the nerves were gone at that point. I'd got the crowd on, kind of, reacting to it, and then I obviously made the pick. And it's one I'll never forget. I will have to get a Tory Taylor jersey. I said whoever I was going to get the pick for, I'll have to get a jersey. I was never expecting to get a punter's jersey, but here we are. And yeah, once again, since that pick, it was on TV. Rich Eisen was commentated on it. And I've had so much kind of good feedback and lovely messages from it all over social media as well. So yeah, it was an unreal thing to do, and something I'll never forget, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing clip, and I must say that it struck me when I watched that there was not really an ounce of nerves on you. Yeah, as you say, you just completely played up the crowd, and I love all that. And it's I think that's one thing I love about the NFL is that the banter isn't too so I don't find it's very often very aggressive banter. I think
Mm,
sometimes our football can be a bit territorial or a bit sort of, fans can sort of almost take criticism a bit sensitively. But I think the NFL, I think I saw a clip the other day of a Lions fan trolling Steelers fan, and it's as all just in good jest. So I think,
yeah.
yeah, to be in a place which, it isn't, they had a bad reputation in the past as a city,
Mm,
and for them to almost be okay with you being there, I think it goes to show maybe they've been getting a unfair treatment. But I absolutely loved it, and it was great seeing a British person like yourself and the other Brits that were on stage doing it as well, and just raising the game of the UK and just having that exposure and just and Americans they love the British accent. It's
mhm.
they I think that they love Britain more than us do really. If I'm honest,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, they love the royal family certainly more than some people, including myself, do. So yeah, I thought it was great, and I can't imagine what that feeling was like. Yeah, it must have just been incredible. But yeah,
It was,
that
it
is
was, it
exciting.
was, it was
Now,
so cool.
yeah, it must have been amazing as well to be there when the best of Caleb Williams #1 overall and Roma Dunes #9 overall because you've never had a 4,000 yard passer in your franchise's
Mhm.
history, and and he's if he's as good as he was in college, he's going to probably break that. And that could be a moment you look back on in 10, 15 years where, he is the future of the franchise. Maybe he's even won a Super Bowl if it gets to that point. And that will almost make it even more special for you, the fact that you were there in Detroit making a draft pick in the same draft that Kelly Williams got taken, which it could go down as your best ever callback in your franchise's history.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely crazy. I think there's no better year for me to be the international fan of the year for the Bears. Obviously, like you say, #1 pick, #9 pick. We're playing in London this year. It worked out absolutely perfectly. And yeah, as you say, I was in the bear pit, we like to call it, right at the front, right by the stage. You know, kind of crazy with all these 700,000 people there. To be like 2 rows from the stage was, something I could never have dreamed of. But yeah, well, we all went mental in the bear pit when Caleb got announced. Obviously, we all knew it was coming. But nevertheless, we still kind of were so relieved, kind of thing. And it was a shame how it worked out with Justin Fields, but I think it was the right thing to do to obviously move on from him and go for Caleb. What he's done in college and just the guy he is. I really do this time think that we have got the guy, and to be there when that guy was picked, unreal. And then even going on to #9, we were all saying we all want Roma Dunze. Even when he walked out at the start when they were introducing all the prospects, we were all shouting at him, "We want you, we want you." And lo and behold, he did become a bear as well. So to have Caleb, to have Rome, the other pieces that we've added within the kind of the off season as well, we are going to be a force. And I know the NFC North is going to be a really, really strong division, but I think we can be up there with the best of them. And the more kind of experience Caleb has, the better we will be. And yeah, hopefully one day we can get that Vince Lombardi trophy back to Chicago. Fingers all crossed. But yeah, all Bears fans, the vibes were great. We're all excited. We're on the same page, and the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. I did lose my voice on nights 1 and 2, so I was thinking, oh my gosh, am I not going to be able to make this pick on day 3? But luckily, it was okay in the end. But yeah, what a couple of nights.
Yeah, you mentioned Kelly Williams there. I mean, it's very rare for a guy to be first overall selection for a team that's won 7 games in the season. To go into
Mm.
a team where you've got Keenan Allen there, DJ Moore, now you've got Roma Dunes, Cole Kmet. I mean, it's probably the best situation. You look at Bryce Young last year, really bought in, like a lot of quarterbacks are who are taken first overall. That's why the team's picking where they are. You often see, that player struggles and the defensive line's terrible and no one to throw to, and therefore within 2 years, 3 years, they're written off. But with Williams, he's going to a team that has won multiple games, that has got a good team, and has got weapons galore to throw to. So yeah, I think really you look back at that trade, and the Panthers probably thinking, why couldn't you wait a year? But for you guys, I mean, it's the best thing you ever did giving away that draft pick to the Panthers because you've gone out and got Caleb Williams and Roma Dunes, and your team is absolutely stacked now. So I think, as you say, whilst it is a really tough division, I think all 4 teams, still probably 3 teams of the 4 are going to be good this year. I don't think the Vikings will be there just yet, but I think certainly the Packers, Bears, and Lions are going to be. I'd probably say 3 of the best 7 teams in the whole conference are in that division. And I
Yeah.
think it's going to be, I think I've always loved the NFC North. There's some iconic stadiums, iconic teams, but this is going to be for neutral. Maybe not for you, it'll be a bit tense in games, but I think it's going to be a fascinating division to watch. And I think it's I think it's probably a lock at this point to have at least 2 teams in the playoffs from this division, and we could even see a third team, unless of course they all just self cannibalize themselves and all just get like 10, 9 wins each, and only one makes it. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a Bears fan, and yeah, it could be finally the year where you turn the corner, and hopefully, me and you are both sitting here in February, previewing our teams making a Super Bowl, but. I think we can probably that's probably more chance of our pigs flying than both teams making a Super Bowl. But yeah, nevertheless, that is where we will end the podcast for today. So first of all, James, a huge thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been great to chat and, great to talk over my experience. So yeah, thanks very much, Andy. Yeah.
No problem at all. We look forward to having the other 2 international fans of the year from the UK later this week. Don't forget to check that out later on our podcasts feed this week. Before we go, James, I'll give you a chance if you'd like to. That is, promote your social media if people want to give you a follow.
Yeah, okay. I'm just James Gowers underscore on Twitter, and the same on Instagram as well. So yeah, drop me a follow if you're a Bears fan. Hopefully you might have seen my pick, and yeah, I'm in all the kind of UK Bears fans groups on Facebook as well. So yeah, hopefully we can connect and meet up for a beer or something when we go and play in London, because it'd be great to connect with even more UK's Bears fans then.
Fantastic. So that is the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I've been, as ever, your host, Andy. This has been James Gowers. See you guys next time. And finally, James, give me a bear down.
Bear down!